You and me. they're more like a live reading of my blog, and honestly, I was not too happy about that. However, after listening to both Jimmy Talks Jira and Bridge Joiner talk about their efforts, inspiration struck yesterday. I'm like, okay, we're going to make a go of this. I'm going to completely redo this. So we are still going to be covering a lot of what I talked about in the blog today, but rather than tell you about it, this is actually going to be a practical demonstration. As you see, I have my insurance in front of me. And we're just going to go with that. If anything pops up, any question pops up, we're going to talk about the cloud if need be. Do different things, but what we're going to actually go into, what we're actually going to do today is go through and try and show you some of the tips and tricks I do when I'm designing a page in Confluence to kind of give it a little more pop, a little more showmanship there. So let's get started there. Pop into Confluence page. This is actually the one I just created in this document. We're going to create a new page, and that's actually possible. We're see today we call me Jen because people have first thing we want to feature, you either love or hate the page. You either love it for the same reasons that other people hate it for, or vice versa. And that's actually the page layout. Now, me, when I'm designing something, I am very visual. I am looking at the page, I am seeing how things appear as they go along, and I am trying to work it out. So, that's my take on it, but I have met people who are the exact opposite. They hate some of the limitations that come with page layouts, so they have different ways to do it. And actually, we're going to discuss the different ways you could achieve the same result within Jira using some different macros and different tools. But this is the way I do it just because I'm very visual and it allows me to visualize the document right away. So, as you know, when I loaded up this page, create new page, first thing I did was I hit this page layout button. This brings down a new panel here. Basic options, we got our add section, our remove section. If I put something in a section, then she's remove it. Whatever was in there is gone away. If I add another one, it does not come back. So that's something to be aware of. That being said, you can't control Z to get it back if you accidentally delete something you're not meaning to. But we're not ready to add another section just yet. Actually, we are, because I do want to demonstrate the next section here. That's the move up and move down. It does what it says exactly on the tin. Nothing shoestrings there. However, these buttons, these are where I live. These are your column layout buttons, and they adjust how different sections or different parts of the section live, where different columns are arranged. So, we got our single column. This is kind of your default Confluence layout. Your two column layout, this is great for a newsletter or something, or a great way to fit more data on the same page. This one, this is my go-to, especially for the first part, and we'll get into that in a moment. This is the shifted left, and likewise you got a shifted right if you want to have a little section over here. You got your tri-split, and then you got your large center section with smaller side sections for your tri-split. But going here, first thing I often do when I'm doing a new Confluence document is, what's it about? What's the information here? What's going on? So I'll pull up a panel and give it a name, information. I'll normally have color codes pulled out, but I don't have it off the top of my head, so I'm going to go background color, one I know off the top of my head. Title color, one I know off the top of my head. Scoot all this down. Title background color is the one I want it to be black. want to publish this, see how this looks. Gotta have a name. Gibberish generator 2000 XLT. All right. And already we have this kind of indented section where we have some basic information. Now, the trick with this is you've got to figure out what amount of text in that second column is going to equal to that information section. And keep in mind, this is going to grow. Now, I do see a point here that I want to note out. It's on the table of contents. By default, it kind of includes everything, and I don't want it to. I'm going to take this maximum level here. I'm going to bring that down to 5. That's when we get almost all the headers, but not the plain text. And that apparently is still not enough, or I went the wrong direction. Alright, read the details here, Rodney. Minimum head level to report in the table. Previous H3 onward, not H1, H2, maximum. I'm not really going to use that many layers. Make sure that this is using paragraph. Update this. I know I can preview, but I don't want to. Alright, so we got our nice paragraph, our nice intro. We know this is going to match up. We know we got that. I'm going to put in the next section, and this section is going to be all the way across. And again, because I don't have anything here, first I'm going to put a title. So we have title here, so we have something for table content to grab onto. And it's going to be our first section of gibberish. And again, cheating gear. Lorem ipsum. Go ahead and put 3 paragraphs in here. And on this next section, I'm going to want to. Now, for me, I really like when things are a little more dynamic. Things are not just a solid block of text all the way down. And also, I'm not really a fan of how Confluence by default includes picture and text. So what I'll do is, again, using capabilities that are already in Confluence, I'll add a section, but I'll have it, this one where the top section was the left section was smaller, this one the right section is smaller. I'm going to just drag in a picture. Let's just grab something random. Copy the embed code. Will this pull an image? Oh. Copy GIF link. Here we go. Insert. We're going to center this on this side because, again, might as well. mistake I made. Again, this is a process. Sentence process. Here we go. Again, wrap around the text, but you leave plenty of space for it. Or fix it. Everything kind of looks balanced. It looks like you're supposed to. You have a pretty professional looking document right here. I'm actually going to switch to another page right now to show you this next bit where these sections are really powerful. Why I really kind of advocate for them. So I have this file here, and I know that this makes it sound not really the same size as this. But I want the next line to mirror equal because that's still what it is sound balance there. So what I did is I didn't necessarily need two sections because both are the same spacing. But I wanted that new section so I could line things up. And the effect you get here is when I click submit. Again, it's not as noticeable because there's just a little bit different, but these two are lined up with each other. That's another reason why I love these sections. So, downside to these sections. This is actually mentioned, but let's say I want to copy this Confluence page. I'm now have to copy each block individually rather than copy the contents of it. Because that's how this page is formatted. These are locked in boxes. I will still say this is much better than when I'm dealing with WordPress and their block system. But this can be annoying. I get why people don't like this, because this turns an otherwise simple operation of copying a page from one Confluence instance to another into a more taxing, because then I have to open up a new page on my destination Confluence. I've got to get my first section set up with the appropriate spacing, and then I have to copy each block of that section over, set up the next section, copy, set up, copy. It gets to be a longer test than it used to be. So we don't want to do this. We're working on our gibberish generator 3000 XLT now. So create a new page before we get to do this again. Sorry, Brittany, I didn't see you there. Let me turn some stuff down, turn some things up. Is that a little better now? Just have levels are rough, but yeah. Thank you for that update. Anyways, so we saw the sections. This is one of the things I detailed in the blog post this morning. What if you don't want to use those? What if you want to use something else, but you still want to get the same effect? So what we could do is we have a couple of macros at our disposal. First, we have our appropriately named section macro. This kind of does the same thing, but otherwise it's just a different way of presenting that data. And this one is actually, because it's using macros rather than some built-in Confluence functionality, copies a lot easier. So same thing like we did before, have the different sections here. We can net sections even, which is a whole nother deal. Then we go to edit this, we can show the border if we want to. That's kind of the option you have there, but in order to get the columns, we didn't have to go back and pull in another macro, the column macro. So this by default assumes you're going to have two macros, if you want, or two columns. If you want to have 3 columns, you're going to have to use a different macro. That being said, it allows you a lot more flexibility with your column width. So I'm going to do a good 20% column. You could do percent, you could do it pixels, whatever works for you. I think because we live in a dynamic time where your screens are not always going to be the same size. Some people are going to have 1080p, some people are going to still be rocking 720 somehow. I couldn't do that, but more power to you if you are. Some people are going to have the massive 4K displays. I prefer to use percentages because it still looks the same on everyone's page, even if they're rocking different hardware. So our first column is defined here. We get to go whatever we want. Again, put in the panel in here. And you'll see why I personally don't like this, because I am very visual, and this is hard to visualize for me because everything's just going to be straight down. Even though once it's in the Confluence page, it's going to appear as we want it to. So information again, use the same background color and title text color. Again, because these are two numbers I can remember off the top of my head. Insert. Going 4 macros deep now. User profile. Artisan. Insert. And here we're going to bring the top down to 3 so we don't bring in additional anything we don't intend to. Now we're going to have our second column. This time we're going to leave it blank so it just fills up the rest of the page, or the rest of the section here. And we're going to have again our cheaty lorem ipsum. And then we're actually going to bring this back down to 2. I'm going to put some more lorem ipsum down here. And we're not going to have any columns in these two for the moment. Copy and paste our deal. And again, we get the same effect. We get our nice little block for this. We still have to make sure that our kind of formatting's even, so we don't have vast white spaces, but it's still the same effect. And actually, I just remembered something. I lied to you earlier, because you can do 3 columns here. It has been a long time since my Confluence test. But we're going to just do this one at 50 pixels. We're going to include a cheeky picture here. Preview, insert. We're going to make this one 45 pixels. Just going to be tiny. But it's going to demonstrate what I mean about the white space. But this is another way to do the same effect without using the page layout. And it does work. It works well. And for some people, this is how they do it. For me, as I said, I'm a visual person. So when I see this, I'm having a hard time converting this in my head to what the actual page will look like. That's one reason I prefer the page layout. But Confluence in many ways is just like Jira, that if there's a way to do it, there's probably 3 or 4 ways to do it. So absolutely, if this is what you prefer doing, more power to you. It works absolutely well. I mean, it's just not my deal. Alright, so got our Jira generator 2000 XLT, 3000 XLT. And again, this works. So moving on, let's say we have I'm going to go back to this one because again, visual. Let's say we have a bit of information we really want people to pay attention to. This is where I featured the second bit of my blog post today. This is the different callouts you could do. The info, note, warning, and tip. I will note that these are different named in Confluence Cloud. For some reason, what we call a note here, Confluence Cloud calls a warning because it can't be consistent with our names at Atlassian. Likewise, what we call warning is called an error in Confluence Cloud, but otherwise it's the same concept. You put this in here, you give it an optional title, be on the lookout for the insert. And then we put some text here. Be on the lookout for what is the name of that? Be on the lookout for crime robots. That's the best one. So we put this, and it puts a little red box here that immediately it calls your attention. Before you read anything else on the page, you're probably reading the red box. I know that's how it is for me, and it's a great way to call out information and be sure people pay attention to it. This is something you need to pay attention to. And the fun thing is, this also works for the info, this works for the warning. It's a great way to call out information, especially if there's different severities in information or you want something to mean something in particular. So, absolutely include these in your document. It's a great way to add detail and make sure that if there's an important point, people actually read it. So moving on from there, more details, more things you can do. Well, there's a reason I added a picture here today. We actually go into Confluence, we go and click on the picture, click on properties. Cannot be applied to web images. That's a new one for me. But you know what? I've got plenty of local pictures too. Upload. I am going to use my Confluence certification badge. Why not? Of course, got to make sure it's centered. But we go to properties and we have these different effects we could add. We can make it taped to the page. Literally, my badge is taped to this page. We can make it a we can make it a Polaroid with a title on it. What is the title? Well, we define it here. Title is Confluence Certification. Click Save. It does some processing. We go to Update. And it did not save my title. Properties, effects. Personally, my favorite is the taped. Just kind of gives this impression that I taped this page. If you're doing blog posts for your team or something where you want people to be able to read it, but you want it to be friendlier. This isn't a user documentation. This is you informing people what's happening. This is a great way to take an otherwise boring picture and add a bit of a personal touch. Make it seem a little more, a little less refined, a little more just there. Said I love this tape effect. I've used it so many times in Confluence, and I don't see people use that enough because it is very much a hidden feature. All right, so we covered that. Go to our other macros. And we're going to go over to type in some Jira. Now this is linked to my test Jira instance, and what this Jira filter does, or this Jira macro does, is either does one of two things. You can either generate or pull out a single issue, and it'll provide a lot of details on that single issue, or you could supply it to JQL and we'll give you everything for that JQL. So I use my own standby test issue. Issue key equal. Alright, you were working this morning. Why are you not working now? Oh, that works. Issue key equals HL 16. Search and insert. Where did you actually insert? Right there, that's not where I want you. I want to put you front and center. So when you just attach a single issue, that's what it does. It goes through here. It gives you the details about the issue type through the little icon. This is a story. It's actually using the default story icon. That's how I know. It gives you the summary. It gives you the status. actually goes through here, and this is new functionality I don't recall seeing before, where it'll actually link you back to your Jira issue. And you could have the inverse link back to it. That is actually new functionality. I'm glad I keep updated instances where I could discover this stuff. Now, this is not news. This is something that's been there for a while. Project equals. This is actually going to go a bit into a nightmare story I had. Project equals HL. So, I had a program manager I was working with, and they sent me a ticket one day saying, Confluence is absolutely so slow, it is almost unusable. I can't believe how unusable it is. No one else seems to be having this problem but me. Can you please help me? So I asked them, send me the page you're having issues on, and they do. It is a page detailing all the notes for an upcoming release of the software product we were working on. And this page almost crashed my computer. I was amazed when I saw this page, and that's because throughout various notes on down the document, he had up to 500 of these Jira issue macros. They're just pulling single issues. And some issues, I swear, were pulled multiple times, but 500 separate calls to Jira within one Confluence page. Now, the thing about these macros, every time I refresh this page, this is reaching back out to Jira and say, hey, give me the latest. Refresh it again, it's going out to Jira and saying, hey, give me the latest. So if you have 500 individual macros here, it's going out to Jira 500 times and saying, hey, give me the latest on this issue. That's not ideal. And when I actually looked at CPU logs for both Confluence and Jira, I could see simultaneous spikes for both of them from where they were processing this page. I could tell you exactly whenever this page was accessed just by looking at CPU information for both systems. That's how bad this was. Okay, so that's bad. How do we fix it? Well, the thing is, there's overhead with every query you do. In essence, it is better for you to do a single query that returns 500 issues than 500 in single issue queries, just because that overhead adds up. It's a little bit per query, but when you do 500, it adds up. And this case was adding up to more than a minute or so to load the project. And these were beefy servers. This is back before data center, but these were still beefy servers. So this was a problem. I told him, look, this is how you need to fix it. What you have here isn't going to fly. This is what we need to do going forward. And he grumbled, he complained, he didn't see why he couldn't handle that, but he did, and sure enough, once he fixed that, it worked just fine. Turns out that even 20 queries that return multiple issues each is much better on the systems than 500 individual queries. So, moral of the story, definitely check what you're doing here. Make sure that you're not overloading the system with these queries, but absolutely use this integration between Jira and Confluence. I love it. Just be sure you understand how you're loading your system. We'll put this at the bottom while we go look at some other things. Alright, so you have a page. It has multiple sections on it. And sometimes you want to link people directly to a particular section. How do you do that? This is where we are going to use our anchor. So we're going to create an anchor. We're going to give it a name. This one's going to be first section. I'm going to put it right underneath the header for the first section. We're going to create a second anchor. We're going to call it second section. So we go to the page, that's fine. I'm trying to remember what the formatting was. Confluence, anchor, link. There was a way you had to put this on the end. But what you could do is you could actually generate a link that takes you directly to that section. could swear I just read this morning, but page. And this one is going to be snippet. Type my anchor. So if we do this, type first section. Take its first section, we type in second section, and it's not taking us where. Back to this page, which doesn't actually name. So yeah, that should work if I've got my anchors correct. That's what I was thinking it was. Update. Pound sign. First section. Share. Yeah, this especially works well when you're linking from other parts of the page or other pages, or you could just type a link. Recently viewed, gibberish generator. First section.
Staying up too late, 'cause I'm watching Futurama, thinking where's my trauma, my life's no melodrama, leave it off the screen, 'cause it's got no genre, sometimes I call my mama, ring, yeah she's always my armor.
I swear this is working this morning. I don't know why it's working now. But yeah, anchors, absolutely use them. They're a great way to guide the content you want, especially if you know you're going to be linking on this page. So, let's say you're going through your Confluence document. There's a section that has more details than what you need. You want it to be on the page for people who are more interested, but you don't want to be in the way of people who just want to glance through and get to the procedure. Or just more details. You can click the expand macro. What the expand macro does is it gives you a section. Let me actually bring it here. And I'm actually going to put this lorem ipsum in here. When I put this macro on here, it's going to hide that lorem ipsum in a section. If I want to click on it, it gives me the full detail breakdown. This is great for breakdowns or more information. Said, I love using this when I really want to nerd out about something, if I'm being completely honest, but it is not entirely relevant. And if people just want to get to the procedure, they're able to go through it. But if they're wanting to dig deeper, the information's there. The other section I use a lot is the code block. Now, the one thing I really wish the code block had, because this is what I write a lot of my documentation on, is JQL. But if you're putting in code snippets for example code for C++, C#, Python, Perl, you name it, it's great. Now, oftentimes I'll use SQL for JQL queries just because it works. But it's not an exact match. So do this. Project equals HL. Let's see. Order by created. Date ascending. Update. This is going to put that code block right here, and it's a great way to show this is something different you should pay attention to. Now, what I'll often do with code blocks is I'll wrap them themselves in a panel or a information block saying this is figure 1, figure 2. That way when I'm going through text, I can reference that figure within the text and people know exactly where to look for it. This is great for more technical documentation. How are people doing different things? But as said, we actually just got a subscriber. I think that's the first time we got a subscriber while I was on here. Welcome, Andrew. Welcome to the club. Don't really have much to say here because said that's never happened before. Anyways, as I was saying, this is just a great example of what or just a way to organize information with the code in a way that distinguishes it. People know this is something different, but allows you to have it on there all the same. Trying to write code in normal block style or normal text editor is painful, so this definitely helps get the point across that this is something different. That being said, yeah, that's a lot of information up. We covered a lot of stuff that wasn't covered in a blog post this morning, and this is kind of what I'm thinking I'm going to be doing here on out for these kind of deals. I'm going to write something in the morning, or I'm not going to write in the morning. I'm going to publish something in the morning that shows people, hey, here's a thing, here's some information on the blog, and then I'm going to expand on that in the afternoon. I'm going to do a practical demonstration of whatever I did, and then I'm going to kind of go into more detail, just because this format allows me to, where blog posts may not. But definitely let me know what you think. I think I'm going to call it a day here, just kind of keep it short. I hope everyone had fun, and I'll catch you guys next time.